Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. And today we're actually going to recap two of the games. So while our energy might not completely be up and excited because we won the Ravens game, right? We are going to be talking about also the most recent one, the home game on the Panthers. Dan, real quick, let's just try to change our mood a little bit and be really excited on how well they did for the Ravens game before we get into the Panthers game and all the drama. First of all, what was it? 10-2 then. So we got to take back a little bit. The Ravens game, slow start, first quarter. I just realized we're just not a first quarter team, period, this season.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of sad, but the second quarter, really great. Dan, let me read some stats real quick, and don't be too depressed because of the stats, because we did win. And all right. Eagles total stats, 252 yards. To the Ravens, 372. Yeah, we put up points. I mean, punts, less yards, more things. I don't know what it is, but I actually felt I was away for this game, but I was watching it and I was screaming at the TV for the first quarter. Second quarter, Vic turned it around. Defense was awesome.
Yeah. Typically, I mean, it's what it's been all season. The first quarter struggles, and then afterwards they just start to blow teams out. And like you alluded to on the yardage is so deceptive. I think we got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because the last drive they basically were just playing prevent, so that was a 70-yard drive. So I'm really not taking that into account, but still, I mean, I'm not concerned about it, but it's a little deceiving, I guess you could say.
Yeah, if you look at the yards, and you come to it after the game and you're like, wow, man, they got a ton of yards. Like you said, the ending, actually, I was a little nervous in the ending, I have to tell you, because Lamar went right down the field. It was like 1 minute, less than 1 minute going, went right down the field, and they got the touchdown. And 24-19, the game was at the end, but they did the onside kick within like 4 seconds. Now most people are like, there's no possible way. I have to tell you guys, I am until that clock goes zero and the game's over, there's a possible way.
Yeah, no, completely agree. We're conditioned at this point over the years of heartbreak that 2 seconds is too long.
1 second's too long. Hail Mary, whatever it is, it's really stressful for it. The passing stats, Hurts 11 for 19. That's, that seems to be typical. We're just not a passing team, and we're a run first, which is fine in most cases. What's it? We had 112 to the Ravens 206. Now, keep in mind, some of those are a little padded there near the end of the game. Rushing. Now, this is pretty cool. Barkley, 23 for 107 yards. It's just amazing on how he's doing. The Ravens, we had 140 total to the Ravens 166. And you're like, well, wait a second, Derrick Henry. Well, let's talk about Derrick Henry real quick. Held to only 82 yards, less than 100.
Yeah, I thought a defensive line really controlled the line of scrimmage, and that was the big thing with Derrick Henry is, he's so big and so fast that once he gets ahead of steam, it's very difficult to tackle him. But they consistently didn't let him get that head of steam because our D line was really controlling things, and they played a really impressive game. And I was really happy with their pursuit. We saw them play more zone than I think we've seen them play all year, but it's smart because if you're going to play man, you're turning your back to the quarterback, and we know that Lamar is just going to take off. So I think they had a great defensive plan in place, and I was really impressed with their overall defensive performance in this one.
I think Vic is doing a great job this season. We were really critical of him in the beginning half of the games, not adjusting. Vic has changed. The second quarter is really when the change is coming. where the defense starts to get in there. And in fact, I think what was it? CJ was on the side during the game. Like he told the team, like, let's step it up. Let's do this. And the second quarter, that's when it happened. You were talking about Henry, and I got to talk about Cooper DeJean's open field, pile drive, tackle, whatever it is. This, man, that is going on his highlight reel.
Yeah, I mean, he's given up, I think they said, like almost 50 pounds to him, and he basically just picked him up and body slammed him. It was impressive. You don't see that every day.
For somebody like Henry, I mean, seriously, like he just wham right down. I think he might have got a yard off of it. I don't know what it is. But either way, no matter what, if you could do that to Henry with his stiff arm that happens out there, I think overall for the defense for this game, they have definitely stepped up. Fourth quarter, that's the other thing I want to note. Fourth quarter, it seems to be that we were in the Ravens thing. I think we were leading like 45 plus yards. I mean, points per fourth quarter. This is like overall through the season. And we're the number one team doing that. That is just amazing that we're fourth quarter. So this entire game, we sucked in the first, and we really didn't do too well in the third, second, and we're a fourth quarter team. So we're basically a 2-quarter team.
Yeah, it's, it shows that they're good in the clutch. And I think what they've really capitalized on throughout the season is doubling teams up before and after the half. They get the score down in the, before the 2-minute warning, or I'm sorry, right after the 2-minute warning. So they go into halftime, and then they come back out, and, they were able to double them up. So I think that's really important. It shows good execution in those situations. It's just, I mean, the question always is what the hell are we doing in the first quarter? Why? It seems like our first, what they say, like 15 to 20 plays are scripted. It seems like you should take that script and you should just light it on fire and just do whatever.
I agree. And that's actually going to be our segue into our next session. I did want to let everybody know this was played in Baltimore, so this was an away game. And now, Dan, I think we've talked enough about the Ravens game. We got to talk about the Panthers game. There's just so much. And I want to leave a lot of this time for us to have our rant. And it's amazing. So everybody, I'm going to spoil it. The Eagles won against the Panthers. They're 11-2. And why are we not?
Alert.
I know. Why are we not so excited for it? Well, this was a home game. Dan, why are we not excited that this was just a win, right?
There were a lot of offensive deficiencies in this one. I'm going to just put aside the running game, because I think the running game, no matter what, it's been elite. It's continuing to be elite. Saquon is a beast. Congratulations to him for breaking the franchise rushing record, beating out LaShawn McCoy, and it's only been 13 games. So truly impressive stuff. But the question I have is obviously with the passing game, because there was only 83 total yards passing. Hurts did throw over for, an amazing 100 yards, but, he was sacked a bunch. The question is and I've been a Hurts, I've supported him. I think he's a good quarterback. Maybe not elite, but he's good enough to get the job done. But I'm questioning whether or not that is the case now. We saw him miss open throws constantly. AJ was open a bunch, and we'll get into that whole ordeal. But the question I have is, we have all pros in the backfield. We have an all pro in the backfield. We have all pros up on our offensive line. We have all pros at the wide receiver level. We have Pro Bowlers, when Goddard's actually in, which seems to be like one game a season. But anyway, Calcaterra is not bad. Why is the passing game not in sync? And I heard, I wanted to go a little bit into it with, I heard on the radio that maybe Hurts is not comfortable. Maybe they're not running plays that he's comfortable with. You know what? I don't want to hear that shit, because the plays that they were running, there were wide open receivers. If you're not comfortable throwing the ball to a wide open receiver, then what the hell are you doing in the NFL? I don't care what play it is. I don't. It's It's just stupid. And again, it's signing to the same things we've been questioning the entire time is, he's holding the ball way too long. I think they said he was 3.7 seconds to release, which is ridiculously long in the NFL. And he's just not seeing the field again. And is he going to be the reason why we don't make it or win the Super Bowl? And this entire time I've been like, no, he's not going to be the reason. He's going to step up when we need it most, but I'm questioning that now.
I heard that it's like it's glued to his hand, right? He won't let go of the ball. He'll never thread the needle. We had the Super Bowl run with him and he was doing that shit. And it seems like that is the only season that I was comfortable with him, that he was the franchise quarterback. Is he not seeing the wide open receivers? I mean, there was a couple incidents. We're all shouting in the stands. This is a home game, shouting that like AJ's wide open. Now, keep in mind, we did get the first down, but AJ was taking it to the house at that point. Is he not seeing the field? Not comfortable throwing all the way down there, afraid of an interception. He has not had an interception since the bye week, right? So, like, what is it? What is going on? I mean, I just don't understand why we can't throw it. We have awesome wide receivers. I mean, out there. Why can we not just release it and get to it? And we have a run game. We should lean heavily on the run game. I get that, but when you have that chance for like the passing, go for it.
Yeah, it's such a polar opposite. I mean, he was in the beginning of the year. I mean, it wasn't amazing passing yards, but he was still passing the ball well. He was turning the ball over. Yes, but he was also throwing the ball downfield. He was taking some chances. Since the bye week, it's like he's gotten scared.
Yep.
He's gotten scared to throw the ball downfield. He's gotten scared to throw basically the one-on-one ball to AJ or Devontae and let them go up and make a play. It is a balance in the NFL as to, are you going to throw the interception and take a chance, or are you going to play it safe? He's got to find that balance. And the balance that he has right now, only throwing to wide open receivers, which is a different case because there were wide open receivers in the game that he missed. There's got to be some sort of balance. I understand you're scared to throw an interception, but you got all pros out there. You got to toss them up the ball sometimes. You got to let them make a play. If you make a bad throw, if you throw it high or you throw it low, the receivers are so good that they're going to make up for your mistake. Just put the ball in the vicinity. And he's not doing that. I mean, against the Ravens, against Carolina, our passing game is inadequate and it's not getting better, and he seems to be regressing. And I don't know what the cause of that is. They can turn it around very easily. I mean, they have the tools to turn it around. And I don't think in this instance that it's really Kellen Moore that's the problem. I mean, we heard it last year. It was Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator. We heard the problems that they had in the locker room. This year, I don't think they're having locker room problems with Kellen Moore, but they're not throwing the ball well. So At what point do we as a fan base sit back and say, maybe they're not the problem. Maybe he's the problem. And we're stuck with this because he signed his big contract. And for the first time ever in Philadelphia history, there's a no trade clause in that thing. So it's not like we're going to just be able to unload him to, the Raiders or somebody. He ain't going to go to Las Vegas. He ain't going to go to a shit team. So we're stuck here and it's going to be difficult unless he shows improvement. And I know he can. He has, but as to what's going on right now, I just don't get it. I think it's more of a mental game with him right now.
I agree. We have 3 weeks left. 3 weeks left of this.
4 weeks.
Well, 4 weeks of it. Oh, yeah, we're in week 14. So we have 4 weeks left of it. And going into this and doing, I think he can change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things is, you alluded to it, wide open receivers. They're wide open. So is he afraid to not throw it for the interception? I mean, one-on-one, I think AJ is not going to get intercepted. To be honest with you, I think he's just going to go in there and house them. And is he not seeing the field though? I mean, is he afraid to throw to a wide open guy, or he just can't see it? At that point, he's holding the ball.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that they admitted, I go back to the second play of the game. They ran a little play action with a deep post out, towards the sideline with AJ. He was wide open for
Yep.
probably about a 25, 30-yard gain. And the problem I have with that is that they admitted he was the read on the play. So it's not like he has to sit back there and scan the field. That's your read. If he's open, throw him the damn ball. And there was no pressure. There was no offensive line or defensive line pressure. So why didn't he make that throw? I just don't. I can't.
I think he went to
fathom
Dotson then, right? Did he go out wide to?
He threw a little. Yeah, an outlet pass that got
Yep.
him, I think, like 4 yards to Dotson. I mean, why? I don't understand it.
One of the tough things is to watch that, and I think that it was a second play of the game where we saw AJ Wade. I think he was actually going to take it to the house at that point. The other thing is, if he is not seeing it, too afraid to throw it, he's holding it and then running out to the side and taking a little sack, and that is killing me. The design runs are killing me. The design runs are not working. The ones that do work are the ones that he improvised and took it 20 plus yards down to, goal line. Those are working because it's the line's not seeing it. Defense is not seeing it. They're playing man coverage and he's going.
Yeah, the inside draw with him, like you said, doesn't seem to be working. I think they should stick to, if they're going to run him, go with the run pass option or the option play, because, then at least there's the option to to hand off to Saquon. And if you want to do a designed run to Hurts, at least fake it and then let him go outside, because the like you said, the inside draw is just not working. And whether or not that be the offensive line's not getting push, I saw there was the one play that sticks out to me. It was like, I don't know if it was 3rd and 1, 2nd and 1, whatever. They ran the QB draw, and Saquon was the lead blocker. And if he stuck with Saquon,
but he cut inside.
He cut in.
He cut inside, and Saquon was going to the edge.
Yeah, and he hit Lane Johnson. He bumped into Lane Johnson and took a loss. All you had to do was basically step aside and follow your blocker. I don't understand it. It's just, I don't know. I heard the other day, and I didn't think he was here that long, but he's a 5th-year pro. If you're not understanding these concepts at this point, then we have to question whether or not he's ever going to understand this.
He had the issue reading the defense before 49ers game. Then he turned it around, Super Bowl run, and now we're just like last year with total collapse in the end of the season. I think that was heartbreaking for us. Do we feel that this season is going in the same direction?
So let me say that before I heard all the locker room crap that went on, that didn't even cross my mind, because it's the Panthers. I know, as a human being, I know they're going to say the right things. Panthers are a great team. They're playing better. They are, but it's a down game. I don't care. It's harder to get yourself emotionally ready for a team that's just hot garbage. I mean, really. So I was taking it as a trap game. So I was fine. But then you go into the locker room speeches, and I'm pissed off about it. First of all, I'm sick and tired of adults being little babies and saying shit. Why do you have to start shit? If you got a problem, go to the person. And I'm speaking directly to AJ Brown in this instance. He's a great player, but we had issues last year where he was bitching and moaning, and we heard about riffs. And now this year, we are 11-2. I understand you're not getting the ball, but you, in the same sentence, earlier in the season, he's like, I don't care if I get the ball once, as long as we're winning. We are winning. And you're going to have to hit the language button on your little thing, because I'm going to say, shut the fuck up. Shut up. We are winning the game. Just shut up. We're running the ball. Why would we go to a 40 attempt team if we're running the ball down the throat of the opponent every single time? You can go to your locker and say, yeah, we didn't execute in the passing game. We got to get better in that. And that's fine. No media, nothing. Nobody's going to start their shit. But instead, he's got to say passing. Everybody's going to assume that's Jalen Hurts, okay? And then, they come out and say, well, is it hard to get into a rhythm? Absolutely so. Okay, that's fine. And then he's just so short with his answers. And then the big thing is, well, during a game when you're having that kind of problem in the passing game, do you go and speak to Jalen? How much conversation? And he says, no, we really don't talk. I don't know. What the fuck are you doing? Why? Because instead of us talking about an 11-2 start, which is amazing, we're sitting here debating whether or not this team is going to have a locker room collapse at 11-2. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Who does that? I mean, the Vikings are 11-2. They've barely beaten opponents. Are we in Minnesota saying, oh shit, it's too cold, we don't want to play the game? Justin Jefferson only got 4 targets. Are we going to fucking cry about it? No, we're not doing it. Why? I go back to the thing. We as Philadelphia fans, we're not allowed to have nice things. That's what it is. We're the toilet bowls. We are shit on at every turn. I want to be on this is December 10th. I want to sit here and be like, John, I got my fucking plane ticket to New Orleans. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to the Bayou. I'm getting some goddamn Cajun food, and I'm going to watch the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Instead, I'm sitting here with you being like, are we going to fucking blow it again? Are we going to really go out in the wild card round? And I have no answer for you. I don't. I'm done. I'm done with the rant. Take the rant.
I think I was clocking that at like 5-10 minutes of ranting.
Oh, I could go longer.
No. What I was going to say was, this a good therapy session for you?
I'm so aggravated. I'm just so aggravated. I hate it. I hate the drama.
I was letting you go on, man. I was just dying and laughing on a number of occasions. And what Dan is talking about is there was that media interview, and if you haven't heard this, your head's been in your butt for the thing, is AJ came out and said passing. Dan, before I let you rant a little bit longer, do you feel that maybe AJ did attempt to talk to Jalen and there has been nowhere? And we haven't even talked about Sirianni, because I feel the team is Kellen and Vic, Jalen, AJ, the rest of it, and Nick's kind of just there in the backgrounds. But do you feel that maybe AJ has tried to communicate with him and there hasn't been that open communication, or he's like, yeah, blowing him off or whatever, and that's why he said passing rhythm? Yeah.
No, I think he's an emotional guy, and they caught him in the locker room, and he doesn't give diplomatic answers. He's not a good politician. He doesn't give the.
But I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't tear them apart. We don't have a locker room issue. I'm okay with him being emotional and be like, listen, we absolutely sucked at the passing. We didn't get anything going in the rhythm. We got to work harder. I'm good with that. But the one word, I think, is what really drove the media crazy, and that's driving us Eagles fans crazy.
Yeah, that, and and then we fast forward a little bit to the Jalen Hurts press conference, and he's asked about these things, and he gives his stoic answers and all the other bullshit. But, I have a problem with the way he answered the one question, and I was going to bring it up and I didn't, but it was to the extent of, they asked him, what about the passing? Do you have a hard time finding targets for Devontae and AJ? And his answer is, it's based on the situation of the game. Perfect answer. Okay. You should have stopped there. But then it's like, he says it's not my decision.
Yep.
Of
Yep.
course it's your decision. You're the quarterback. Okay. You are the one running the offense. If you want, call an audible. I don't give a shit. Why? Why are you saying those things?
Why add it in there? Because he just threw out his offensive coordinator. He just threw them. It's not my decision. And that right there, that's the other thing that we so we were trying to save a little bit of this near the end of the show, but I guess we'll just keep diving into a little bit more. Obviously the AJ comment, Jalen, Dan, I sent it to you on Sunday. I was like, did you hear that Jalen walked out of the press conference? 2 questions left, a guy goes, and then they ask, and I forget what it exactly was, and he literally got up and left. And if you watched it from the Eagles app, they cut it off as a transition that it was in like the end of the thing, but you knew if you watched the real thing, he left. That's added on there. So now we got the AJ thing. We've got Jalen, throwing the offensive coordinator under the bus a little bit. We got him leaving the press conference. Nick's press conference is a wasted time. We just a filler of some of the space. Now you got BG Brandon Graham he made a comment, and I don't think everybody's taking it a different way. He's like, I figured they're friends before this, or that they were talking. He did not retract, but he apologized because he didn't want to cause anything to it. And the other thing, Dan, I was talking to you about it this morning. Donovan McNabb and T.O. had to chime in. McNabb said adults should try to solve this, yada, yada. T.O. puts a little thing. You know what? This is the first time I agree with you. Adults should try to solve this. In fact, I never had a problem with you, but you had a problem with me. Why didn't you come to me? I mean, 11-2, and this is what we're focusing on?
It's asinine. I don't get it. I've never experienced a team like this. Last year it was 10-1, and we saw the downfall, and it was all pointed towards locker room issues, blah, 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 blah. And this year we're 11-2, and I'm definitely afraid that we're going to go down the same spiral, and we got a hard team this week. And if we go out there and we shit the bed, even if they lose, but it's competitive and they show, a lot of heart, then I understand, it's a great team that you're going to play. But if they go out there and they shit the bed and have a game like they did against 49ers last year where they got blown out, then we've got a serious problem. And it's unfathomable. 11-2 team. And the top thing in the Philadelphia media, and the top thing, and a lot of people say, oh, well, the media's trying to, stir things and blah, 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 blah. And usually, sometimes that is the case. But in this case, it's not the media that's running with this. It's what's being said, between AJ and, and Hurts and everything. And they're not handling it well. And, is it, and I don't think at this point, Hurts is he's not throwing, but he's making comments that make it sound like it's Kellen Moore. Well, last year we used Brian Johnson as a scapegoat, and I completely agreed with that because it was bullshit. He was getting blitzed and he was running a 4 wide receiver vertical route, which is the dumbest goddamn thing I've ever heard. And we blamed him. We blamed Sirianni. This year, are we going to start to blame Kellen Moore, or are we as Eagles fans going to say, maybe it's Hurts? Maybe he's the fucking problem. He comes off as a great guy. He does. And he's got the desire to win. And I really don't think he gives a shit how they win. But it comes to a point where it's like, when are you going to step up and be a leader of this team? When are you going to stand in the locker room in front of, 70 other guys or whatever? They have a 53-man roster, and then all the other guys. When are you going to stand in front of them being like, we need to get our fucking head straight? We can't be arguing about this petty shit and go out on the field and perform. And is that part of the responsibility of the head coach? He's the culture guy. You're setting the culture. Do you need to stand up in front of the locker room and say, what the fuck is happening? Get your shit together. And I think we're going to find out all about what this team is made of and what this team is going to look like the rest of the year against the Steelers game. Because if they go out and lay an egg, then we know they're not strong mentally. If they go out there and they handle their business, then we know that, we're going to be all right. But if it's Tuesday after an Eagles win, like you said, 11-2, and I'm sitting here basically going on a 15-minute rant on how this fucking team is pissing me off and I'm tired of it. I really am. And I just, I don't want to hear that you're not getting thrown the ball, because what it does is it paints AJ Brown in the position of, oh, he's selfish. And I don't know whether or not he's selfish, but he's acting selfish.
The perception
He
is
is.
that he is off of that, but did you also see the picture with him and Devontae sitting down on the bench?
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking at each other. And, you said the media stirring the pot. Here we are doing a podcast and recapping.
We are the media.
Yeah. Recapping some of our frustrations. I think there's the perception, and I agree with you. So they played the Steelers this Sunday, 4:25 game. Steelers are 10-3. They are playing excellent. If they go out there and they handle their business, this all goes away, and that's what they need.
Yes.
That's what they need to focus on. My question, Dan, is how do they quickly adapt and change the mentality of AJ for the start of this game? Did they get out and quickly do some quick passes? Did the Steelers anticipate that they're going to try to resolve the issue for quick passes? And does Kellen Moore say, all right, I got to get him involved to shut him up? I mean,
I think that's the problem. That is the problem, is that I think that they're going to get in a position where they're going to try to force feed him the ball, and it may lead to mistakes. It may be great, but it may lead to mistakes. And
Jalen mentally might start doing that, start trying to force it. We want him to throw, but at the same time, if he's not mentally ready to throw, then it's like you're forcing somebody and you're going to have those, interceptions.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the balancing game. I think he's going to try to force feed him, and I think it's going to be a mistake. And I just hope that we don't regress to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to have to pass the ball 35 times to keep him from, bitching and moaning. We can't change the way that the offense is running. We are a run first team. We should be running at least 50-50 or favoring the run. It's just that you got to capitalize on those moments that you're not. And I don't think forcing the ball to AJ is the answer. I think it's what really needs to happen. And you mentioned it perfectly before the podcast, is they need to come out in tandem, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya in front of the media. And this probably goes away. It probably does. And it's probably like, oh, well, he was pissed off at the time. He's not really calling out, Hurts. It's just they were upset.
Yep.
But I don't see it happening. I don't.
We're Tuesday, and we should have seen something by now to just calm all the stuff. That's just what we should have seen. But maybe there's maybe they're working some shit out, and Wednesday when they get into the NovaCare and they're going to have a press conference or something.
But that's my question, is what is there to work out? You're winning. You're not getting the ball.
But I think there needs to be some clarification. I don't want to say work out, but I mean, literally, there's something obviously going on. And I'm going to change our conversation in a second. I want to talk about defense in a moment, but obviously in our special teams, because those are some of the top areas. But I think there needs to be the team. Nick has to have a 3-way press conference, Jalen up there, AJ, and literally get it out. Hey, listen. AJ needs to go. I said some shit in the heat of it. I was wide open and something, but I see it from my perspective. I don't see it from his. We talked about it, and I love it that we're winning. So let's kick the shit out of the Steelers and let's move on, and don't elaborate anymore. Don't drag it anymore. The more you talk, the more you're going to feed into the media and they're going to speculate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what needs to be done, and I don't see it happening. I don't.
No. Not at all. I mean, I think T.O. and McNabb should have done that instead of doing sit-ups in your driveway in Jersey. Should have got together and, hey, listen, guys. I mean, T.O. said McNabb didn't reach out. Well, didn't T.O. reach out and said, hey, listen, let's solve these differences, and we would have won that Super Bowl in 2004? You know what? To be honest with you, Dan, let's talk about defense a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, your therapy session for that is going to be coming to a close. We got to switch to.
I'm good. I'm
All
good.
right. Hopefully, you feel better at least going into the week. Defense. The only thing I got to say about defense, well, two things. One, defense is looking great. I'm absolutely, Quintanamo Bay Mitchell, he was embracing it. I saw his sweatshirt.
I want that sweatshirt.
Yeah. Christmas. You should order that shit. Start selling those in discounts. But first of all, Cooper DeJean, right? Bond, Sweat was all over. Carter. I mean, these guys were running after Bryce Young, and they were they were actually getting home to him, and were at least forcing him out to the edge. First of all, Vic is doing a great job adapting. We're not a first quarter team at all. Even Jalen came out and says, we haven't in all year. Why should we change? All right, cool. No problem. Yeah. What did we get? 6 points total so far in the first quarter?
7. Historically bad. It's weird.
Yeah, that's all right. You know what? We should be okay with that as long as we're winning, right? So we should dominate. I mean, I say complete football, but at least second, third, and fourth quarter, we dominate. Vic has done a great job adapting to it. The only thing that I am going to point as a negative on this is the tackling on this game against the Panthers.
Yeah.
There were so many that they have missed, tackled. It was like Bryce could do, and there were so many 3rd and 13s on this game. I was amazed. I was like, man, I should have played the lottery or something with it. They were converting them. It was 3rd and 13, like 4 or 5 times, including in the end zone, and yet they converted it. I was like, well, they're going to get it. That's the only negative, but I think defense did a great job.
I thought the defense. Now you said they did a great job. I actually thought that they struggled because of the yardage.
I still think they did a great job in a lot. I think the tackling is the only thing. But go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say I think it's a little hard on them because the offense was going 3 and out. Yep. So
they were beat.
You're asked to go out there and keep going out, and so I think that I think DeJean struggled because of Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen kind of ripped them apart, but I'm not worried about that because there's going to be games like that. DeJean is a rookie, and he's playing against Adam Thielen, who at one point in his career had over 100 catches. So he's a good player. And I think that DeJean is going to fix it. I think he's going to be better because of it. But I'm with you. I think the tackling was there, and tackling is all about effort. And I just think that the effort wasn't 100%. I mean, on the runs, I think I texted you during the game. You probably saw it better than I did, but the defensive line was being pushed back on the runs a little bit.
Yep.
It's probably being like the line of scrimmage was being established a little, like probably 2 yards further than it should have been. And that's just all about effort. And I go back to, were they taking the team lightly? Were they tired because they were on the field so much? I think it's a mixture of things. Am I worried about the defense? No, I'm not worried about it because we still have, like you said, we have Quinyanamo Bay out there who's locking receivers down, ridiculously good stats. Jalen Carter's a monster. Slay, I wish, would ride the bench, but that's for...
He had 2 big plays, right? And we were BSing up in the stands with this. He wasn't... It just doesn't look really great. And then he gets 2 big plays, and that wipes everything, the entire game, of how bad and poorly he played. Obviously, the ending where it was 4th down and he, saved the... I want to say saved the game, right? He saved that chance. Mm-hmm. Those are the good ones, but I don't think he's a consistent. I think with that, his 2 big plays, he's like, I played great. Did you play great throughout the entire game? I think he's injured. I think his knees bother him. I think he's having issues keeping up with it. I think you need to have Rodgers in there a little bit more to just kind of get him going. And this was the team to actually do it. But other than that, he had so many plays against him that there was some chunk yardage. Now the stats for this one: 302 for the Panthers, 292 for the Eagles. All right, Hurts 14 for 21, 108 yards. All right, Young had almost 191. Barkley had 124. You said it, franchise leading record. We've got 4 games left. It's just he's just going to be
Truly
dominant
impressive.
forward. It is. And going back to defense real quick, and I want to swing over to the offense thing, is that I think defense was tired. I think we needed more time. Offense was just keeping 3 and outs. We needed to chew up some more clock just to give them a break, and they were quickly back onto it. So there are mistakes that are going to be made on there. I'm not worried about defense at all, like you said. Jumping over to special teams, and actually the only thing is Elliott. We've been talking about it all year. Should we be concerned that this is maybe an off year for him because he missed a field goal? He missed the extra point, but I'm going to give him a present that there was an offsides, and maybe he was just kicking it early because of it, and then we went for the 2-point and got it. Should we be? He hasn't made anything over 50.
Yeah, I'm concerned personally because I think there was a perfect microcosm of that where they were at the 36-yard line at the end of the game. And if they would have made a field goal, the game was over. They would have been up by 2 possessions. Instead, Nick opted to take a delay of game because he tried to draw him offline or offsides, and he punted. That is not Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni would probably kick that. His offense wasn't playing that well, so he probably would have kicked that field goal in normal times. But you're starting to see how it's affecting his decision making, and that's not good.
No,
if you can't rely on your kicker come playoff time, then you're screwed. And that's what I was actually going to ask you was that he's done a lot for us. He was fantastic for years. He's kind of like Justin Tucker for us. Well, Justin Tucker's shit in the bed this year too. But the question I ask you is, do you think it's time to bring in kickers to put some competition out there and see what's going on?
No. And here's Elliott could be having an off year. He could be having a bad time. He could be injured that we don't even know about. What I feel is that, and if you look at the past, he's done great things for us. He's done those kicks. He's done everything on them. We haven't lost because of his field goal. We're winning. If it came down to field goals that we need to be winning the game and, the last few seconds, maybe I would swing that way to bring in. I think as of right now, I think he's going to turn it around. I think he's just in his head. I think he's just has it there that he's not doing it. Maybe the trust from Nick has gone away. And if Nick puts that back into him, gives him that chance, wipes it clean, whatever. I saw the one with, what was it? Harbaugh on the Raiders. He missed it, right? And Harbaugh came over. Who's the kicker? Tucker,
yeah.
That's what you're talking about. He came over, and if they would have got that, the game might have been different. But he missed it, and he came over and he talked to him, and that instills a lot into it. Do I see that from Nick? Well, I don't think Nick's that type of coach, to be honest with you. You bring a Harbaugh over there, we can bring in. I feel that Elliott will be fine. I don't think it's time to be any concern. I think he's got years left on him for the team. I don't think he's going to be signing a big contract anytime soon.
Yeah, and like you said, kickers get in their heads so often, and you wonder
if
stressful
that's job
in his head.
Just like the QB. Other than that,
there's a lot riding on you.
Yep. Dan, before I wrap things up, because we're running out of time, I want to do around the NFC because there's some big names. And by the way, congratulations to the Eagles for clinching a playoff berth. I mean, there's only 4 teams that did it. AFC, the Bills, KC, the Lions, which we're going to talk about, and the Eagles. I mean, we're in week 14. We should be talking about that shit. No, we're talking about all the drama that's happening.
Yeah, no kidding.
Dan, why don't you bring it around the league a little bit here and talk about the NFC before we wrap it up?
Yeah, the Lions showed once again that they can persevere. They beat the Packers. They looked really good at times. The Lions are just consistently winning, and the unfortunate thing is due to I don't know, like third in line of the tiebreakers, they actually hold a 1.5 game lead over us. So we would actually need to beat them outright in wins.
Yep.
But they have the Vikings on their tail, and that's the other thing is the Vikings are 11-2. They absolutely pummeled the hapless Falcons, so they're looking good. Washington had a bye, and we are officially 3 games up on them with 4 to go. So we can't exactly clinch if we win this weekend, but we do play them in 2 weeks, and that will pretty much decide the division. We'd have to completely collapse for that to happen.
I will
And
not
the
say
only
any comment on that referencing last year at all. So go ahead.
not until after this weekend, at least.
Yes, exactly.
If I come on here next Tuesday and I'm throwing the microphone and throwing shit, then we lost.
we could win. We could win, and you'll still throw it if they play like shit and this drama's still going on.
Yeah, pretty much. The only other thing I had was playoff positioning. As of right now, we would play Washington in the first round, which I feel very comfortable with. The only concern I would have in the wild card round, honestly, is if we play the Buccaneers. Yeah. And thankfully, the Buccaneers are winning their division right now, so we don't have to worry about that. But I don't want to play the Buccaneers because we suck against them.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, my last question for you. If the Eagles solve their riff, right, there's no issues, there's no more drama the rest of the week. What is your prediction for this Sunday's game against the Steelers?
I would say I'm going with 27-21 Eagles. If they solve the rift. I think even if they don't solve the rift, they can put it past them and win. But this is the first game of the year. I can honestly say to you that we're either going to win this game, and it's going to be close, 27-21, or we're going to go down 2 scores and we're going to see some fighting on the sideline.
I can't argue with you there. I think if for some reason it's like 35-10, I think there's going to be some issues on the sideline. I think there's going to be some more comments that are happening. I'm concerned about this game. Now, my prediction still stands 2 losses so far. I'm rooting for a win because I'm just that type of Eagles fan, and I will never say they're going to lose. Mm-hmm. I do think I'm going to say 28-21. I was going to go with 19, but you know what? Actually, let's change that a little bit. 28-17, because we're going to have a 2 possession. For some reason, we're just going to be defense is going to like dominate the crap out of them. And it is a home game at the Link. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And George Pickens is pretty much going to be out. You hear reports. He's got a grade 2 hamstring injury. So, yeah. I mean, not like he'd get any catches against Quinyon because he's just locking people up, but
you just love saying that.
I do. I think that is one of the best nicknames I've ever heard.
I love it. All right. All right, everybody. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. As always, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what, Dan?
We're out of here, and if you need a therapy session, we'll be back next Tuesday.
Hell yeah. Go Birds.
Go Birds.